Have you ever felt like you walked into a room full of noise and still somehow weren't heard? Not ignored with malice, just unnoticed, like the room was too busy applauding the loud to recognize the weight of what you carry. You've been faithful, you've been wise, you've endured fires that forged revelation, stewarded pain that produced clarity, walked valleys that revealed God in ways no mountaintop ever could. But now, in a world scrolling past depth and praising performance, you wonder, where do I fit? Is there room for what I carry? Does anyone even care about what I've built in the secret place? And maybe, just maybe, you've started to believe the lie that silence equals insignificance. But what if I told you, you're not invisible, you're underutilized. You're not overlooked, you're misread. And what you carry is exactly what this generation needs. They just don't know how to ask for it yet. But that's not your cue to retreat. That's your call to rise. Because when the culture can't discern what's valuable, it's the wise who must allow themselves to be visible. Hey, I'm Mark Casto, the host of the Mark Casto Program. I left the four-walled pastor model behind to build a soon-to-be seven-figure digital product business from scratch by investing the last few dollars to my name and a word from God. Now I'm helping messengers, thought leaders, kingdom entrepreneurs package their God-given wisdom into income and impact online. Around here, we believe wisdom is greater than entertainment, value is better than going viral, and that a digital product business should actually change lives, not just wallets. We're building businesses that create financial and time freedom so that you can live fully present with the ones you love and be exactly what God has called you to be so you can do exactly what God's called you to do. Every single week, I sit with you not to impress you with my knowledge, but to peel back the layers, sharing raw stories, proven strategies, and the unfiltered truth behind what it really takes to take your God-given wisdom and turn that message into a movement. This isn't just a podcast. It's a blueprint for building a life you love with wisdom in a world so desperately chasing influence. So if you're ready to build a business that truly reflects who you are, unlock the message you were born to share, and do it all without burning out or selling out, pull up a seat, open your heart, and let's get to work. This is the Mark Casto Program. This episode is sponsored by the Wise Builders Creator Academy. This is our premier mentorship program helping kingdom messengers like you package your God-given wisdom into a scalable digital product business. If you're ready to turn your message into a movement, serve others, and create real income with impact, I want you to go to markcasto.co/academy to apply for a call with one of our client success representatives. Now listen, this is not a discovery call. This is not a time for you to just come check things out. This is an application call for serious leaders who are ready to multiply, steward, and step into the work they were born to do. Let me talk to the ones who don't feel called to the spotlight, but still feel like they have a message that needs to be heard. That tension, it's real. Because for some of us, invisibility wasn't a choice. It was an assignment to grow in the dark, to become roots before anybody saw fruit, to go deep in a culture that rewards shallow. And listen, I honor that. But if you've been faithful in the secret place, and now the ache in your chest isn't pride, it's permission to be public, you need to know that ache is sacred. It's the ache that steward what God gave you. To no longer bury it under false humility. To no longer pretend your voice is optional. You don't want to be famous. You want to be fruitful. And that's the most kingdom desire you could ever have. Some of you are so used to being hidden that you don't even realize you're hiding anymore. You've spiritualized it. You've sanctified it. You've justified it. It's just not my season. I don't want to be prideful. I'm just waiting on God to open the door. And yes, there is a time to be hidden, But if the season has shifted and you're still clinging to invisibility out of fear, out of self-protection, or out of trauma from the last time you were misunderstood, then what was once obedience has now become disobedience cloaked in spiritual language. That's tough, but it's true. God never meant for you to bury what He gave you. Do you guys remember the parable of the hidden talent? The one who hid his talent wasn't applauded for being humble. He was rebuked for playing it safe. He said, I knew you to be a hard man. In other words, I was afraid of messing it up, so I didn't do anything with it. Guys, that's not humility. That's fear dressed up as reverence. And some of you, if we're honest, you've been doing the same thing. You've taken your wisdom, your experiences, your insight, and instead of building with it, you've buried it under busyness, insecurity, or delay. And here's the hard truth. What you won't steward, God won't multiply. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. This generation doesn't know how to ask for wisdom because it doesn't know what wisdom looks like anymore. They're not asking for elders. They're asking for influencers. They're not asking for maturity. They're asking for aesthetics. So if you're waiting for them to recognize your value before you speak, you'll die with your wisdom still locked inside. But what if the call is for you to go first, to create the container for your wisdom to be seen, to build the bridge from the secret place to the digital space? Guys, that's not pride. That's just operating in purpose. See, you've got the insight. You've got the decades. You've got revelation. You've got wisdom. You've got the credibility. Now it's time to build the structure that holds it. Because revelation with no distribution is like having living water with no well to draw from. We need messengers who don't just feel led. We need messengers who know how to lead. That starts by putting your wisdom into a form the world can find. And in this era, that means digital. Not for vanity, not for platform, but for access, for impact, for legacy. We laid the foundation that you're not forgotten, you're underutilized. And that silence in this era is not safety, it's withholding. The world doesn't know how to ask for what you carry. That's why you've got to build it anyways. So let's go a little bit deeper. Let's define this clearly, okay? What underutilization really is and why it's dangerous. See, underutilization is when capacity exceeds deployment. It's when God has built something within you, but it's not operating at scale. It's not always visible to others, but you feel it. You feel that tug that says, this isn't everything I'm called to. You feel the frustration of giving 30% when you know you were made for 100%. You feel the pain of watching trends thrive while truth sits untapped inside you. That's not ego. That's not ambition. That's assignment unfulfilled. And listen, this isn't just about your pain. It's about their hunger. Because when wise people stay underutilized, foolishness gets a platform. When those who carry depth stay quiet, culture builds its house on sand. The world isn't burning because the loud got too loud. It's burning because the wise stayed too quiet. And I believe God is sounding the alarm. You've been faithful with the unseen. Now I'm calling you to steward the seen. So let's take a moment and confront the 3 lies that keep you silent. Lie number 1. If it's from God, it will just happen. This is passive, let me say it this way. This is passivity dressed up as trust. And it's keeping kingdom messengers in bondage. Yes, God is sovereign, but obedience is still required. God's sovereign, but He gave us free will. Ultimately, He will accomplish His purposes, but the question is, will you be obedient to partner with that sovereign plan? See, Noah got a blueprint, but he still had to build the ark. Moses got a word, but he still had to lift his staff. Jesus gave the Great Commission, but it still takes feet to go. And if you're waiting for your platform to appear out of thin air, let me lovingly tell you, it's not coming. Not because God doesn't want to use you, but because he already gave you the seed, now he's waiting for you to plant it, cultivate it, and steward it. So what does that look like today? It looks like structuring your wisdom into a clear offer. It looks like packaging your message in a scalable way, learning how to steward distribution through digital tools. See, faith isn't passive. Faith is movement. And then lie number 2, if I promote it, I'm promoting myself. This is a favorite among those with pure hearts. It sounds holy, but it leads to hiding. So let me flip it for you. If God gave you revelation and you hide it under a bushel, you're not honoring him. You're withholding breakthrough from someone who needs your voice and your wisdom. You're not being humble. You're being disobedient. John the Baptist promoted what? A message, a kingdom, a person. But to do that, he had to lift his voice. He had to preach and proclaim in the wilderness. And the wild thing is, the people came. See, friend, you're not promoting yourself when you structure your message. You're promoting the truth that God gave you to steward. So let the algorithm shake. Let your DMs be misunderstood. You weren't called to be comfortable. You were called to be faithful. And let's look at line number 3. Well, Mark, it's too late for me. See, this one hits the hardest because it's not always just about age. It's about delay. Some of you are saying, I should have started years ago. I missed my window. There are younger voices doing what I wanted to do. Listen to me, friend. You're not behind. You're being sent at the right time. Jesus didn't start until he was 30. Moses didn't lead until he was 80. Abraham didn't step into fatherhood until it made no logical sense. See, God isn't measuring your timeline against Instagram. He's preparing you for the moment where your voice won't just be heard, it'll be needed. And I believe that moment is now. So let's pivot here for a second and let's talk about why online is not optional. See, it's time to stop viewing the internet as optional. It's not a side project. It's now the new public square. Social media isn't just social. Now you've got spiritual beings operating on this social platform. It's spiritual, it's economic, it's ideological. And if kingdom voices don't learn how to operate in that space with wisdom, the only voices that will shape culture are the ones who already have the tools but lack the truth. See, I'm not encouraging you to become an influencer. What I'm saying is at least be discoverable. See, the greatest messages in the world are dying in notebooks, in journals, on hard drives, in sermons preached once in a rural town and never again. And here's the hard truth. If your wisdom isn't accessible, it's not helpful. That's why I say you're not invisible, you're just unstructured. You're underutilized. And when you fix the structure, your voice then becomes scalable and helpful. Now, I'm going to say something that's going to mess with you for a second. The Apostle Paul didn't just preach. He published. If we go to the Bible for a second, Paul didn't just plant churches. He wrote letters. Why? Because letters go where bodies can't. They cross boundaries. They last longer. They multiply even when the preacher sleeps. I'll say this, they'll multiply even when the preacher dies. Paul's been dead for 2,000 years and we're still reading his letters. See, that's the new digital, that's the old version of what is now the digital product. See, digital products can be modern day epistles, letters, systems that carry the weight of your wisdom without needing your constant presence. You want freedom? You want impact? Then stop relying on spontaneity and start building structure. Now, let's talk about wise builders and building digital systems. So I want to get intensely practical for a moment. If you've been sitting on a life message, a framework that can get people results, a coaching system you've developed over the years, a unique insight born of fire and testing, then it's time to turn that into a scalable offer. That's what we teach inside of Wise Builders. You don't need to figure it out from scratch. You need a mentor who understands the unique weight of a kingdom message and the structure required to release it in today's digital economy. You've got the well. We'll help you build the system to draw water for the world. Now, let's talk about the assignment gap. What you're called to versus what you're actually doing. So far, we've addressed the lie of invisibility. We've exposed the 3 common belief traps that keep seasoned voices silent. And we've reframed the digital world as the new mission field, not something optional, but something ordained. Now, we need to get brutally honest about something. There's a gap between what you're called to and what you're actually doing. That gap is called frustration. Now, you may be saying, Mark, what is this assignment gap? Well, see, the assignment gap is the space between your divine potential and your current implementation. It's what makes Sunday afternoons feel heavy. It's what makes content creation feel hollow. It's what makes entrepreneurship feel unfulfilling, even when it's profitable. And it's not because you're confused. It's because you're misaligned. You're doing something that's good, but not what you're graced for. You're running after a vision, but you're using someone else's blueprint. And your soul knows it. That ache inside, it's not confusion, it's conviction. Because something in you remembers what God whispered, and it doesn't match what you're currently building. So I want to give you some signs here that you're in the assignment gap. And again, we're going to get super practical, real practical. So I want to give you 7 common signs that you're stuck in the gap between calling and execution. Number 1, you feel chronically unfulfilled even after launching something. You're checking boxes, but you're not transforming lives. Secondly, you're working harder, but producing less fruit, which means you're overexerting because your strategy's off. This thing should feel effortless. Thirdly, you keep procrastinating content and offers, not because you're lazy, but because deep down, it's not the right thing. Fourthly, you feel invisible even in rooms where you're technically well known. See, that's not about clout, that's about resonance. Number 5, you're jealous of people doing what you're secretly called to do. And I'm going to tell you something. Jealousy often reveals itself not because of what you see other people doing, but because you have suppressed the assignment on your life. Number 6, you overconsume and you underproduce. You binge on wisdom, but you don't do anything with it. And my friend, I would call that knowledge. You're binging on knowledge. But wisdom is different than knowledge because wisdom is knowing what to do with the knowledge that you have. And number 7, you hear, quote unquote, more in your spirit, but you don't know where to start. And friend, that's the Spirit of God pushing you into activation. And if any of these are hitting home, hear me. You're not broken. You're being summoned. The Spirit is pulling you into alignment so that your obedience can match your assignment. So I want to help you, and it's going to take some vulnerability to get there, but I want to help you get from hesitant to activated. See, when I left the 4 walls of traditional ministry back in 2024, I felt like I was betraying something sacred. I thought, can I still be faithful if I'm not preaching from a pulpit every week? And yet I couldn't deny the prompting. God was calling me to build online, to teach entrepreneurship from a kingdom lens, to serve those who had messages but no monetization, to disciple the digital Davids who would never make it through seminary but had fire in their bones. And friend, I'll be honest with you, that shift, it was terrifying. But I knew this, if I didn't step into it, I'd become bitter. And I'd start criticizing others who did step forward. Not because they were wrong, but because I was disobedient. See, bitterness is often just buried assignment. So let me ask you, what are you biting your tongue instead of building your thing? Or let me say it this way. Where are you biting your tongue instead of building your thing? Where are you critiquing when you should be creating? That energy, that fire, that edge you carry, it's not a problem. It's supposed to be your prophetic fuel. It just needs to be aimed in the right direction. So here's the shift that I believe God is inviting messengers into right now. From vague passion to clear purpose. From being deep in silence to being deep in building. From raw message to refined offer. From impact in theory to impact with infrastructure. And yes, it requires a different skill set. It requires learning marketing without manipulation. It requires building offers without watering down your revelation. It requires stewarding income without shame. And it requires serving people you may never meet, but who desperately need your blueprint. See, you're not just a messenger anymore. You're becoming a builder of a movement. But movements don't launch off vibes. They launch off vehicles. And that's where digital products come in. So when I say digital product, I don't mean like slapping together a PDF and hoping someone buys it. I'm talking about a scalable container for your wisdom, a repeatable transformation that people can experience with or without your presence, a financial engine that funds your family, your message, and your freedom. It might look like a digital course, a group coaching program, a mentorship container, a live cohort experience, a paid challenge, or all the above. The format doesn't matter as much as the framework. What matters is you're no longer burying what God put in you. You're building with it, multiplying it, and letting the fruit speak. So let's settle this once and for all. Influence isn't evil. Unstewarded influence is. We've seen so much manipulation and hype and platform idolatry that many of you have swung to the other extreme. You'd rather be obscure than becoming one of them, and I get it. But the problem isn't influence. The problem is using influence for yourself instead of others. See, when God gives you wisdom and people start being transformed by it, it will grow. And that's not branding, that's biblical multiplication. When Jesus taught with authority, the crowds came. When Paul wrote letters, churches multiplied. When Peter preached at Pentecost, 3,000 people were added to the church. See, influence isn't the goal, but it is a byproduct of obedience. So stop fearing visibility and start fearing wasted opportunity. So let me close this thought with honest tension that many of you are feeling. Mark, I'm all in. I feel this deeply. I'm ready, but I don't know how to build any of this. I don't know funnels, email sequences, content strategy, digital systems. Well, friend, let me encourage you. You don't need to be a master. You just need a map. And that's what Wise Builders is for. We give you the frameworks, the templates, the tools, but more importantly, we help you align your revelation with infrastructure. Because a wise voice without a system will eventually fall silent again, not from lack of passion, but from burnout. So now I want to dive into the 3 roles you must embrace to become a wise builder in the digital age. And so before we do though, I want to just recap for a second, just to speak some truth over you. You're not confused. You're misaligned. You're not rejected. You've just been unstructured. And you're not too late. You're actually right on time. And now the question isn't just, should I build? The question is, how do I show up in this next era? Because to go from hidden to heralding a message, from frustrated to fruitful, from called to commissioned, you have to embrace 3 prophetic roles. Role number 1, the sage. The first role is the sage, the one who sees what others miss. The sage doesn't shout, doesn't react. The sage doesn't chase trends. The sage discerns the times. This is the voice of wisdom. Not wisdom as vibes, but true tested wisdom that's been shaped by experience, fire, revelation, and obedience. This is the role many of you already play in private. You're the one people come to behind the scenes. You're the one who gets the late night calls for real advice. The one who's carried generations without recognition. But here's the truth. If the sage doesn't step into visibility, Foolishness fills the vacuum. We need sages in the feed. We need sages in the inbox. We need sages on podcasts, in paid programs, in content that doesn't expire in 24 hours. We don't need more reaction. We need more revelation. And guys, the reality is you carry that, and it's time to build with it. So if you don't know where to begin, start by naming your well of wisdom. So let's do a simple exercise here, okay? Once you get a sheet of paper, or maybe you can do this in notes on your computer, however you want to do it. But first thing I want you to do is I want you to list 5 lessons that life taught you the hard way, okay? Write out these 5 things, because these are paid with pain. And usually the things that you've gone through that you paid with pain, they're gold, okay? So I want you to take a moment and list 5 of those lessons life taught you the hard way. Second thing I want you to do is I want you to list 5 results that you've helped others get consistently. And the reason why you write 5 results that you've helped other people get is because this shows you your transferable process. Like, you have wisdom that you've transferred to other people that has gotten them a result. That's something that you need to pay attention to. And then thirdly, I want you to list 5 topics that you could teach for hours without notes. And what's going to happen is maybe you don't even have 5. Maybe you just have 1 or 2. It doesn't matter. I want you to list those 5 things that you could teach for hours without notes, because what this is going to show you is things that you've mastered naturally. Just this is natural mastery. You don't need notes. You can just riff on this stuff, talk about it, and you enjoy talking about it. Okay, and when you get done with this, I want you to look across the list. Is there an overlap? Are there patterns? Are there core ideas? And when you find those things, that's your well. That's the foundation of your first digital product. You don't need a viral hook. You need a vessel for your wisdom. And that's what we build in Wise Builders. Role number 2. Second role I want to talk about is the role of the architect, the one who builds structure from their insight. And this is where most messengers get stuck. You've got revelation, you've got passion, you've got language, maybe you even have some content, but you don't have a structure that sustains it. You post, you teach, you record, but it's random, sporadic, reactionary. See, the architect builds a system that attracts the right people. The architect builds a system that delivers value consistently. It monetizes ethically. It multiplies reach without burning out. See, God is giving architectural blueprints to those who've only seen themselves as preachers. And you're not just an encourager. You're an engineer. You're not just a communicator. You're a constructor. That's the shift. And see, the architect builds these 5 systems. Are you ready? Every kingdom digital builder has to create these 5 things. Number 1, a lead generation system. What does that mean? How do people find you on the internet? How are people going to find you? There has to be some kind of lead generation system, a way that people see your content and have a place to take the next step with you. Second is an offer system. So how can you invite them in and then show them what you do to help them? Like, what do I help them with? And can they find me that way? The third is a delivery system. So like, once they find you through the lead generation system, once they find you through your offer, then how do you get them results? That's your third system. The fourth system is a marketing system, okay? How do I share my message with reach and resonance, okay? And then the fifth thing and final system is a sales system. So again, lead generation system, offer system, delivery system, marketing system. Now 5 is your sales system. How do I invite them into transformation with integrity? See, these are the exact systems that we help you map out and help you build in Wise Builders Creator Academy. And without these, you may be powerful, but you'll stay poor. Not just financially, but impact poor. reach poor, legacy poor. And God doesn't want that for you. So it's time to step up and be an architect. Role number 3, the reformer. And this is the final role that I want to share, is the reformer, the one who shifts culture by standing in truth and building something that other people can live in. See, the reformer isn't just trying to make money. The reformer is asking, what is the culture missing that I can build? The reformer is looking at shallow church content and going, I can build something that feeds the hungry. The reformer is watching the influencer era fade and saying, it's time to restore weight to words. The reformer sees a cultural void, and it doesn't, and the reformer doesn't just critique it, they construct an answer. For those of you that have never studied church history, the great reformer Martin Luther, he didn't just criticize the Catholic Church. He wrote a 95 thesis and brought it to the door of the church in Wittenberg. So we've got to construct an answer. So what could this look like practically for you and I? Well, creating a business that funds missions instead of just selling merch. Launching a podcast that speaks to issues your pulpit couldn't touch. Building a digital curriculum that sets people free from religious performance. Teaching entrepreneurs how to sell with peace instead of pressure. Equipping your kids to inherit a legacy instead of a lifestyle. And see, this is what I love about the role of a reformer. They don't wait for permission. They build the future they believe they were called to see. And guys, I'm going to be honest with you. Silence is no longer an option. Okay, the world's shifting faster than ever. AI is reshaping communication. Institutions are crumbling. Voices are being elevated not for their truth, but for their usefulness to the algorithm. And if kingdom voices don't rise now, we will enter a generation where people will say, no one told me the truth when I was still listening. And when that happens, God won't ask if you were comfortable. He'll ask if you were faithful. We are not here, guys, to be spectators. We are not here to maintain comfort. We are here to build what's missing. The world is not oversaturated with content. It's undersaturated with wisdom. And you carry that wisdom. So here's what I want to do to land this part of the conversation. It's time for you to build your first digital altar. Again, I know I'm using a lot of religious language here, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. Not in a building, not in a service, but on the web. A place where people can meet the truth that you've carried for years. That could be a 5-day challenge, a live workshop, a coaching program, a signature online course, a 12-month mentorship program. It doesn't have to be flashy, but it must be intentional. And see, your altar is where people come to trade confusion for clarity, bondage for breakthrough, self-help for spirit-led help. And that altar deserves intentionality. And guys, we'll help you build it inside of Wise Builders. But even if you never work with me, hear this. Don't die with the message still in your journal. The altar is ready. The internet is waiting. The moment, it's now. It's just waiting on your obedience. So this is your open door moment. This is your time to step forward. So let's recap again on what I just said. You've been commissioned as the sage who carries wisdom, the architect who builds structures, the reformer who shifts culture. You've seen the gap between your calling and your current expression. You've learned that wisdom must be packaged, not just proclaimed. And you've realized the time to step forward isn't someday, it's now. So what's next? Okay, let's zoom out for a second. We're entering a new digital decade, one where influence without integrity will collapse. Content that doesn't transform will fade. The shallow voices of culture will cannibalize each other. AI will flood the internet with information, but leave people starving for wisdom. And in that chaos, a remnant of builders will rise. They won't look like typical creators. They won't need millions of views, but their message will carry weight. They will build businesses rooted in truth, create offers that heal, not just sell, design content that restores people to who God made them to be, and multiply their voice not through virality, but through structure. This is the decade of the wise digital builder. The question isn't, will you go viral? The question is, will your voice matter in 10 years? So let me give you two pictures. I'm going to give you a vision of two roads ahead. Road number one, stay silent. You ignore this message. You tell yourself it's not your season. You keep posting here and there. You procrastinate launching your product. You bury your message under good intentions and fear of being misunderstood. And 5 years from now, you're still watching others walk out the assignment you secretly knew was yours. And that ache, it'll turn into frustration, then bitterness, then apathy. And here's the reality. God will still love you, but the people who needed your voice, they'll find substitutes that don't carry the same revelation. But there's road number two. You say yes, even if it's messy, even if it's small, even if it's scary. You build the offer. You launch the product. You learn the systems. You stop avoiding visibility. And 5 years from now, you've impacted thousands. You've built a business that funds your mission. You've raised up other messengers who were stuck just like you were. And you've stepped into exactly what God made you for. Friend, which road do you want? So, let me release you from a spirit of overwhelm right now. This doesn't start with building a $100,000 business in 30 days. It starts with one decision. I will no longer bury my wisdom. That's it. From there, God will give you the people, the process, the provision, and the peace. You don't need all the steps. You just need to move. Because the reality is God doesn't bless hype, He blesses obedience. So let's talk about, just real quick, what we help you build in Wise Builders. If you're ready to move, I want to personally invite you into the Wise Builders Creator Academy. Here's what we're going to help you do. Number one, give you niche clarity. We're going to nail down exactly who you're called to serve. Secondly, we're going to help you build that lead magnet creation, help you attract aligned and ready to invest leads. Thirdly, we're going to help you with your digital product offer. We're going to show you how to package your wisdom into a scalable framework. Number four, we're going to give you sales funnel and email system. We're going to help you automate the process so your wisdom works while you rest. Then we're going to give you marketing content strategy. So we're going to help you create trust, like trust building content that resonates with your audience. And then we're going to help you with a high ticket offer. We're going to help you serve at a deeper level that can generate 10K plus per month in impact-driven income. And then lastly, we'll help you with movement building strategy. We're going to show you how to turn your message into a multiplying mission that lives beyond you. And this isn't a one-size-fits-all course. This is a blueprint. It's a mentorship program built for messengers who know they were born for more. So if this is, so let me say it this way. This is for you if you're tired of feeling underutilized. You want real results, not more inspiration, and you're ready to get your message to the people who are already waiting. All you have to do is go now to markcasto.co/academy and apply with a call today. Guys, I'm telling you, people that have been holding on to knowledge for 10 years, they're learning how to take 10 years of experience and put it into a full digital product in just 6 weeks. We have people that say all the time, I finally feel like I'm doing what I was born to do. Another one just said on a coaching call recently, I've made more impact in the last 90 days online than the last 10 years in ministry. Friend, this isn't hype. This is activation. If you're a voice of wisdom, your next step isn't optional. It's overdue. So let me end this the way I began. You're not invisible. You're not underutilized. And that ends today. God's looking for builders, not watchers, not dreamers, not wanderers, builders. And not just any builders, wise ones. Wise enough to know the season has shifted. Wise enough to know the tools have changed. Wise enough to trust the process. And wise enough to act. Friend, you carry something really powerful. And it's time to release it. So I want to give you a final declaration here. I want you to say this out loud. I was not made to stay silent. I was not made to stay small. I was not made to stay stuck. I am a voice of wisdom. And I will build what Jesus has given me. Friend, this is your open door moment. I hope you repeated that. I literally paused so you could do that. So hit rewind if you have to. Go back 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and do it. I want you to say it. I want you to put your both feet on the floor, and I want you to say that. Because, guys, this is your open door moment, and I want you to walk through it. So, guys, thank you so much for listening to the Mark Casto Program. And if today's episode stirred you, share it with someone you know carries wisdom but hasn't stepped into their full assignment. And if you're ready to stop being underutilized and start building what God's placed inside you, I want you to go to markcasto.co/academy and apply now. This world doesn't need another influencer. It needs you, a wise builder. I'll see you in the next episode.